If there's one position you really want to get right in Dynasty, it's quarterback. They score the most points, they have the longest careers, and in Superflex, which in my opinion is the only correct way to play Dynasty, they're the most valuable assets. The good news is that the Dynasty quarterback market is not very efficient right now. So today I'm going to highlight some quarterback prices that you can exploit in startups and in trades to build better Dynasty teams. I've already talked about Jared Goff and Geno Smith and Derek Carr in two of my recent videos. So I'll put those links in the description. If you want to hear what I think about those guys in Dynasty, you can check those out. Today, we're going to cover 4 other quarterbacks in detail, and then we're probably going to touch on a number of others as we go through the ADP here. But the first quarterback I'd like to touch on today is Kyler Murray, who is currently the 207, the 11th quarterback off the board in Dynasty startups. This guy is just perpetually disrespected. He was the QB 10 in points per game last season, coming off an ACL tear with Trey McBride and basically nothing else in that receiving room. Marquise Brown played a couple of games with him and then got hurt. He was working with Michael Wilson and Rondale Moore. It didn't matter. He still was scoring fantasy points. If you go back to 2022 and you remove the game that he tore his ACL in the first quarter, he was the QB 8 in points per game. He was the QB 4 in points per game in 2021 and the QB 3 in 2020. In both seasons, he was over 22 points per game in 4-point passing touchdown leagues. He even finished as a QB 1 as a rookie. He was the QB 11 in points per game. So all this dude does is finish as a QB 1. He's shown that he has an incredibly high floor and an incredibly high ceiling. Now we add Marvin Harrison Jr. to the mix, by far the best weapon Kyler's had in his career, still has Trey McBride, and Cliff Kingsbury, who everybody seems to agree is a bad coach, is out of there. I think Kyler's odds of finishing as the overall QB1 are about as good as anybody not named Allen or Mahomes. So I think he's just dramatically undervalued. He should be going closer to the 1-2 turn. And I would be targeting him aggressively in Dynasty if he wasn't already my most rostered quarterback. And you know who's going one spot ahead of Kyler Murray right now? Justin Herbert. I don't understand the ridiculous fall in ADP for Justin Herbert. Last offseason, he was going at the 105. So the 5th overall player, the 5th overall quarterback in Superflex startups. Now he's going as the QB 10 in the middle of the second round. And what happened in between? From last offseason to this offseason, Herbert had a fantastic season. He was the QB 4 in expected points per game. He was the QB 8 in actual points per game until they got injured in week 14. He's been one of the best real life and fantasy quarterbacks since he entered the league. He's only 26 years old. He's already given us 2 seasons above 22 fantasy points per game. And we are fading this guy because of Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman. I have so many issues with this. First of all, we're not playing redraft. Obviously, it matters what a player's seasonal projection is when we're factoring in their dynasty value. But with Justin Herbert, I think it matters that he is a confirmed elite quarterback with an incredibly high floor, right? We can look a little bit past the current season projection, but I also just don't buy this run heavy narrative, right? Like, Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman have never had a quarterback like this. You look at their past quarterbacks, you're talking about like Lamar Jackson, Colin Kaepernick, Tyrod Taylor. They've never had a passing quarterback with Justin Herbert's skill set. So I just don't think that the previous pass rates that we've seen from these coaches are particularly relevant. And then you go and you look at the running back room. You have 29-year-old Gus Edwards, who's never even had 200 carries in a season. You've got J.K. Dobbins coming off his second catastrophic injury. You have Kimani Vidal, who's a 6th-round rookie, might not even make the 53-man roster. And then after that, Jarrett Patterson, Isaiah Spiller. I mean, this doesn't look like a running back room that's going to handle 500 carries this season. I just don't believe it. And on top of that, I don't even think the Chargers defense will allow for a run heavy plan. You look at some power rankings across the league. Pro Football Network has them 28th ranked defense in the NFL. Bleacher Report has them as the 27th ranked defense in the NFL. Even if they go into games wanting to run the ball, I think by the second half, they're going to be pass heavy. So I personally still have Justin Herbert ranked 9th overall in Dynasty, just behind Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, ahead of CeeDee Lamb and Kyler Murray. I think he's a stud. I think this is a fantastic buying opportunity for a quarterback who can easily jump back into that first round of startups. I just wanted to remind you that subscribing to this channel is 100% free and it really helps me out. So that's just something to consider. And another thing to consider is how outrageous Drake May's Dynasty ADP is. The 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft is currently going as the quarterback 19 in Dynasty at the 603. This is silliness of the highest order. Drake May is the most mispriced player in Dynasty, and I don't think it's close. Now, this isn't 100% actionable in established leagues because there are definitely managers out there who know what they have in May. I know that because I've sent offers out for him in every single league, and I do not yet have 100% rostership of Drake May. But clearly, this ADP indicates that the opportunity is out there in a lot of leagues, and I think the payoff is going to be massive. And if you go over to Fantasy Calc, his position within the overall Dynasty rankings does reflect this ADP. So I don't think it's a startup specific trend. I think he's just genuinely mispriced in a lot of leagues. This guy has a fantastic college profile. He's extremely mobile. I think he's going to have a lot of rushing upside, and he's going to play sooner than later. I mean, the Patriots are supposed to be one of the worst teams in the league. I don't think that they're going to trot out Jacoby Brissett, when they're 1-6. I think eventually they're going to turn the keys over to May. I think he has the potential to gain a ton of value from this season to the next. Now, I would have made the exact same case for JJ McCarthy, who is currently the 5'12 and the quarterback 18, but being out for the season obviously changes the equation. Now he's probably going to fall a bit in ADP. And I actually think he is the #1 trade target for rebuilding teams. So if you are rebuilding, if you can go out and trade really anything short of a first round pick for JJ McCarthy, I think you need to do that. He's still a top 10 pick who will eventually be playing with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson in the same type of system that guys like Tua and Goff and Purdy have excelled in. I mean, even Nick Mullins was throwing for like 400 yards a game at the end of last season. This is just a very quarterback-friendly system. He's going to enter next season as the unquestioned starter, and I think he's still going to have some value insulation when he does get on the field, since we haven't seen him play yet. So following this injury, his value is going to take a big hit, and he's an incredibly strong bet to just gradually regain that value as the season goes along. So obviously carrying him on a contending team, that comes with some opportunity cost. But if you're already rebuilding, I say do what you have to do, go out and get JJ McCarthy. And the last quarterback I want to touch on here is Deshaun Watson. His current ADP is the 806, the 23rd quarterback off the board. Nobody wants to hear it, but it has to be said. Deshaun Watson is undervalued. He started his career with 4 straight 20-point per game seasons. He was widely regarded as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Since 2020, when he finished as a top 5 points per game quarterback, he has played in a total of 12 games. He played half of those games in 2022 when he was coming off a year and a half of not playing football. And in 2023, though his play was decidedly not elite, he did deal with multiple injuries, and he actually played decent games against the Titans, Cardinals, and Ravens. More importantly, he was actually good for fantasy in 2023. He had weekly finishes of QB5, QB8, QB10, and QB14 in 4 of his 5 healthy games. Now, there's obviously some risk with Watson given his off-field issues and his recent stretch of subpar play, but I think that risk is being absurdly priced in, like way overpriced in. He's a rushing quarterback on a massive contract, and he plays in a pretty good offense. It's a pretty well-stacked receiving room with Amari Cooper, David Njoku, and Jerry Jeudy. And I think he's extremely unlikely to get benched. I mean, he might not be an elite quarterback anymore, but I'm pretty sure he's still a starting caliber quarterback. And a starting caliber quarterback in that type of an offense, getting the type of money that he's getting, is just not likely to lose their job anytime soon. Watson just flat out should be going ahead of guys like Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins, who carry risks of their own without the same type of value upside, along with players like Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Derrick Henry, Jake Ferguson. Deshaun Watson, like hypothetically, still has the type of value upside to get back up into at least the like 3rd and 4th round of startups. He's still a pretty young quarterback. I think he's 28. And again, we have seen a long track record of elite play from him. If he comes out and scores 18, 19 points per game this season, which is very achievable, I think his price is going up. I've got Watson at 52 overall in my rankings in the late first value tier, so he sticks out to me as a clear trade candidate. Anyway, that's going to do it for today, guys. I should have another video out soon with my biggest preseason takeaways, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it, and I will see you guys next time.